Hi, good evening. My name is Jeff Henderson. I'm the principal here at Center Grove High School, and I'd like to welcome you to this evening's virtual Senior Year at a Glance presentation. Obviously, we would much rather be welcoming you here in person in our auditorium this evening, but nonetheless, we hope that tonight's virtual program will give you some good information regarding what to expect for your students' senior year. I want to introduce a couple of key individuals who will be leading tonight's presentation. Immediately to my left is Mrs. Trish Ferguson. Trish is one of our assistant principals, and she happens to oversee the guidance counseling department and handles the master schedule, among other responsibilities here at the high school. And seated next to Trish is our guidance director, Megan Krukemeyer. We also have a few of our school counselors here this evening that will be helping answer questions that you pose online this evening. Angela Chaplin, Scott Stenzinger, and Daniel Weems will be manning computers behind the scenes tonight, answering the questions that you pose in the chat session. So without further delay, I'd like to turn the evening over to Mrs. Ferguson and Mrs. Krukemeyer, and we'd like to thank you again for your attendance.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson, and thank you all for being here this evening. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to get you thinking about your current juniors' senior year and their plans after high school. It seems like just yesterday we were in this very auditorium talking about your students' high school schedule and everything that they would need to take and all the things to think about. And here we are thinking about senior year. Right now, these things can seem a little overwhelming, and we're going to be providing you with a lot of information tonight. So just keep in mind that this is just one of many opportunities that we're going to give you to learn information about next year. We'll also be giving your students lots of information between now and the end of their senior year. So it isn't that you have to get everything tonight. In addition to additional meetings after this one, we're going to be posting tonight's meeting and the notes of the questions that will be answered at the end of tonight's presentation on the guidance website. So if you missed something, no worries. You can always go in and see it again. As we go through this evening, we would ask that any questions that you have put in the Q&A. Our guidance counselors are manning the station, so to speak, on our Zoom, and we'll be answering questions as they come up. And then at the end, if there's some questions that they've seen over and over again, they'll be coming up to the microphone and asking us those as well so that we can make sure everyone has the answer. So again, the chat function is not where you need to ask the questions. It's in the Q&A section. So if you could do that with anything you have. And as always, we are here to help. You're welcome to call us at school or to send us an email with any questions that you have about anything that's guidance related. So tonight's agenda, we're going to talk about tasks to complete. We're going to kind of go through a month by month checklist of things that you and your senior need to be thinking about as you get closer to graduation next year. We're going to talk about the SAT and ACT, about applying for college, about how to pay for that college, what to expect during their senior year, and other post-secondary opportunities that are available to your student that we have here at Center Grove. So Mrs. Krukemeyer is going to take over from this point and talk about the next few months.
Yeah, so to finish out junior year, there's some things that you need to think about in order to get ready for starting your senior year off solid. First of all, there was a white scheduling sheet that was passed out the week of January the 19th. It was due by January the 29th. Obviously, we are past that due date. So if your junior still has that form, just make sure that they fill it out with their teachers and get the stamps that are required in order to schedule for their upcoming classes for next year. Once we get that form in our office, we will then schedule a meeting to talk with every to-be senior about their schedule for next year. Some of the students are opting to do that via Zoom on their day that they're at home, just in case a parent wants to be involved, or maybe they just want to have more time to talk to their counselor about it. We are also still seeing students in the office as well. So there's some flexibility with our schedule this year and how we're going to meet with every student to get their schedule for next year ready. Just like every other year, May 1st is the deadline in order to change any classes that you want to take for the next school year. So if a kid signs up for a class right now and then decides in April that they want to change it, that is totally fine. The process for that is just to email your counselor, and then we'll get you down to the office and we can change it for you. Make sure that when you are choosing your schedule for next year, students, that you are paying attention to the classes that you are picking, because the schedule is important your senior year. Colleges are going to be looking at the rigor of the course selection, and it may impact your admission to different schools that you are trying to attend. It is very important that you are pushing yourself smart, that you are taking classes that are going to challenge you, but yet at the very same time that you're going to be able to get the most out of those classes to prepare you for your next step after high school. Please know that when you are starting to apply to schools, the grades through this semester, which will be the end of your junior year, will be the grades that you are going to start applying to colleges with. That's going to be the initial transcript that is sent to the colleges. So again, it's very important that you finish junior year as strong as you possibly can. This spring semester, you're also going to want to register for the ACT or SAT if the college that you are trying to apply to requires them for admission. With all things right now, it's a little bit different, and many colleges are waiving that requirement for admission. We still highly recommend that students take the ACT and the SAT. And then once you've taken them, you know, that you can still super score to try and get the best possible score for admission. Scholarships are still based on the ACT and SAT. So if you are trying to go for a competitive scholarship, it is in your best interest to still sign up for those. For the SAT and ACT, here are some dates for the remainder of this school year. March 13th, May 8th, and June 5th for the SAT dates, and then April 17th, June 12th, and July 17th for the ACT. Again, not all schools require them any longer. However, we still recommend that you do sign up for them. If you do sign up and it ends up being canceled due to COVID, they are still rescheduling those dates as well. So more tasks for the end of junior year. You're going to make sure that you are looking up the colleges and the requirements for GPA, the courses that you need, and then if SAT and ACT are important. When we talk about courses, it is important to look at the world language admissions requirement as well as the math requirement. Many colleges want you to have a certain type of math in order to get into them. For instance, trig is usually a class that a lot of colleges require you to have. IU is one of them. Purdue is another. I know that we have a lot of students that go to other places, but nevertheless, it's important to make sure that you have the requirements to be admissible to the schools. It's also really important to research scholarships that are available to current seniors and Naviance. When they were freshmen, when you guys were freshmen, you all got into Naviance through Keystone. It's important that you go ahead and get back in now because you're going to spend a lot of time in Naviance your senior year. Right now, we have an entire list of scholarships that are open for our current seniors this year, and most of them will happen again next year. So it's a good opportunity for you to go ahead and get in there and see what requirements there are for these scholarships. And also, if there's anything that maybe you might not have at this point, it gives you the opportunity to look and see over the summer if you can do different volunteer opportunities to kind of expose yourself to different things so that you can qualify for those scholarships. You can go on college visits. They look a little bit different right now. We have a list on our website of the different colleges that are doing virtual visits. So even though you might not be able to go to the actual college and look around, you can see what they have to offer through their virtual visits.
Here at Center Grove, we have a great history of students who have successfully applied and graduated from our service academies in the United States. So these schools provide a world-class education in exchange for the student agreeing to serve in the branch of the armed forces for 5 years after graduation as a commissioned officer. So if that is something that you or your student are interested in doing, that process needs to begin pretty quickly. With the service academies, there is a screening process before they actually let you apply, where you'll need to submit your past transcripts. And then they'll take a look to see if you're meeting those minimum requirements before they give you access to an application portal. So you want to make sure that you do that as quickly as possible. That application goes through everything from background checks to everything that you've ever done, every sport you've ever played, clubs that you've been into, and it takes a little longer than a traditional college application. If you have any questions about that, Mrs. Crookermeyer or I or any of your counselors are happy to help. We currently have 3 students at the Air Force Academy, 3 students at Army West Point, and 1 student at Navy. So we have lots of opportunities. We're happy to connect you to any of those students as well that could talk with you, or the parents or the students, about what that experience is like. So we know that we have you prepared if that is something that you're interested in. So this summer, there's also lots of things that you should be doing. Make sure that as your student is looking at those colleges that are on their list that they want to take a look at, to make sure they know the application deadlines. Most of the colleges open up on August 1st, so you want to be thinking ahead about that college application and getting everything ready for it. Also make sure that you request a transcript to be sent to whatever college that you're applying to through Naviance. Now, you don't have to worry about remembering all this, as we said, because as soon as school starts next year, our guidance counselors are going to be coming hopefully into your classes and talking to the students about how they actually go through that process step by step. They also have made videos so that when the student is at home and you're helping them, that you can go back through those videos and see again the actual steps. But just to give you a heads up on what will need to happen. The college application also has more than just that application. Many of them require recommendations. So the school in Naviance has a brag sheet for the student to fill out. And that's a little more personal, informal list of things that your student has done that when their teachers or anyone else in the community that needs to write them a letter of recommendation can have access to. That way they can speak very specifically to the great strengths of each of your students. So we'll want to make sure that they complete that brag sheet. Once they have that done, they'll want to request letters of recommendation from their teachers for the colleges that require that. And also they'll want to send official SAT, ACT scores to colleges. As Mrs. Crookermeyer mentioned before, SAT does a super score. What super score means is that they will take your highest score from each time that you took the SAT. So if you took it once as a junior and you did better on math, and then you took it in the fall of your senior year and did better in English, they'll take the highest of each of your scores and put those together for your best possible score. You get 4 opportunities to send in, they say free with your SAT, ACT registration, but we know you're paying for those in that registration cost. So your student can go ahead even before they apply, if they know there's a specific college that they want to send their SAT scores to, they can do that through the College Board when they sign up for their SAT or ACT. And then one of the great things that Mrs. Crookermeyer brought to us 2 years ago was a college app day. So in the fall, hopefully we can have it live again. We have multiple colleges that come in and will review student applications on the spot. So the last time we did that in the fall of, I guess it was 19, Mrs. Crookermeyer, do you remember how many kids we had that got on the spot admissions to college?
I don't, but
I'm thinking 90 something.
Yeah, it was a large number. It's a great opportunity for our students. And we're so hoping that next year your seniors will have the opportunity to partake in that.
Yeah, that was super fun watching them come into the media center and then getting those college acceptance letters right then and there. So applying to college, it looks a little different than when the parents applied to college. I have a junior myself this year, so I'm right there with you on these applications. We have something called the Common App, which IU, lots of other places, over 900 universities in the United States use the Common App. And the great thing about the Common App is you log on and you put in all of your information, the stuff that we were used to typing onto applications over and over again, your name, address, all that kind of stuff, basic activities, the classes you took, and you just do it once. And then you send that off to whatever colleges you want. Some colleges will ask for something in addition through the college app. I know IU requests an essay that you fill out where they give you a writing prompt and you fill out that essay. So different universities have additional things that they put on the Common App, but it's a great time-saving way to apply to lots of colleges. And we have that a web address on the website here. Each decisions dates from colleges are different. Some universities will do a rolling acceptance where they'll accept people kind of as the applications come in, whereas other schools, and Purdue is the biggest one that comes to mind, they do batch applications. So they'll hold all the applications till a certain date and then look at them all together. So students in that situation sometimes takes a little longer. I think our students just found out after Christmas what the Purdue decisions were. So don't get nervous. On the applications, it typically tells you when you can expect to know from each university. Keep in mind, there is more than one great college opportunity. And that's one of the things that's so stressful being a parent, that you want to make sure you help your student make the right choice. Well, just keep in mind, they are going to have lots of opportunities, and there's more than one great college experience out there waiting for them. I will tell you, parents, be prepared that the college criteria for admissions is much different than it was 20 years ago. The standards in our state have risen significantly. So be open to other universities that maybe you didn't think of before.
Okay, so when you start applying to colleges, there's a lot of questions that come up. A lot of the ones that we see time and time again are, how many colleges should I apply to? That's really kind of up to each student. We have kids that know they want to go to a specific university from day one, and that's the only college that they apply to. We also have students that have applied to upwards of 20 colleges. We tell kids that, go for one that that you would be happy going to, and they have the major that you want and the college experience that you want to have. But we also encourage kids to try and go for that reach school to see, if I could pick anywhere, just kind of throwing a dart on, the board. And then it's always super fun to see if those kids actually get into their reach schools, because sometimes it pushes them outside of their boundaries of what they're looking for. There is, in Naviance, there is a college super match that is a great tool that kids can type in a whole bunch of different things or criteria for colleges, student life, majors, private versus public. There's a ton of different things that they can put in, and then they will get a list of colleges that maybe they wouldn't have thought of. I think it is one of the best tools that we have in Naviance that goes, it's pretty underused, to be completely honest. So if you get the opportunity, please go into Naviance, and then that can also be something to help you find different colleges. What does the school counselor do in the process? So you guys will come to us, the students will come to us, and they will talk to us about different colleges that they're interested in. We can be a pretty good gauge as to what the requirements are for the schools. We can help the student look in Naviance at the requirements for the colleges that they're asking about. In Naviance, the student actually does quite a bit. And then we just help support them, making sure that their transcripts are uploaded, that the forms that are required are uploaded. And then once they tell us where they're wanting to have all of their documents sent to, we push that magic button, and then it goes to the college. A lot, like I said, a lot of the information and the prep work is on the student, but we do a pretty good job of making sure that we stay on them as far as, deadlines coming up and making sure that their transcripts and everything are sent by that November 1 deadline. That is a deadline that you guys are going to hear time and time again, that November 1 is the big deadline for colleges and for merit-based scholarships. The next question that we hear a lot is, when should I start applying? Like Mrs. Ferguson said, August 1st is usually when the applications start opening for colleges. So be prepared going into that. Know where you want to apply. Know what the colleges are asking you for their application. Like she mentioned earlier, different colleges have different requirements for their application. Some take 10 minutes to fill out and some take quite a bit of time. So I guess the easiest answer is start early and then be ready to start doing the applications in August. And then if you need more time, you have that time. If you've taken dual credit or AP courses here at Center Grove, a lot of students want to know how they transfer those credits to the schools. So after you have earned that credit from Ivy Tech, Vincennes, UND, or IU, those are the 4 institutions that we do dual credit with, you will request a transcript from that institution to be sent to that school. Even though it is on our transcript, they want an official transcript from that post-secondary institution. If you're thinking sports and you think that you want to play college sports, please have a backup plan just in case. Obviously, we hope for the best and we know that these kids want to play, but always have a backup option just in case. If you are trying to play in college, you need to make sure that you are registering with the eligibility center. If you haven't done so already, I would go ahead and start doing that now. How much does it cost to apply to college? It kind of varies from school to school. During College Go Week, we will send out a list of schools that will actually waive their application fees. So keep an eye out for those. Most of the college applications, I would say, range from $50 to $75, just kind of, like I said, depending on the college itself.
One of the best kept secrets in college scholarships is the automatic scholarships. Usually we think about scholarships as being for the valedictorian or salutatorian or the star basketball player, but really most of the money that students get for colleges come from their merit scholarships. So most public colleges and universities have automatic scholarships that are based on the SAT and ACT scores. The reason that they're based on SAT and ACT is because those scholarships or those tests are tried and true. People have been taking those for years and years, and they're valid from one end of the United States to the other. Sometimes GPAs can be a little bit deceiving, and it's hard to tell what classes a student was able to take. So the SAT, ACT kind of levels the playing ground for those universities to know exactly what they're getting in a student. So even though a university might not require you to take it for admissions, if you have a pretty smart student and you think they might be getting some scholarship dollars, they're going to have to take the SAT, ACT. So this dollar amount is awarded to your student automatically. So once you apply to college and all those scores are submitted, basically you'll get some type of notification, whether that's an email or a letter from the university within a week or two after applying, and it will tell you what amount of money you would get off of your tuition based on the merit of your work so far. So check out the parameters of those, and we're going to show you an example in just a second of what that looks like, because sometimes taking the SAT and getting 10 more points might be the difference of $6,000 off a year at whatever institution you go to. So an example of that, and sometimes people get caught into, I don't want to pay out-of-state tuition, or it's a lot cheaper if we stay in state. And sometimes that's absolutely true. But this is an example at the University of Missouri, and you can look all this up for any college that you want. If you Google merit or automatic scholarships for freshmen, and whatever university you're looking for, you can probably find it. But this is the example at the University of Missouri, that if a student on the SAT or 1360, I'm sorry, 30 on the ACT or 1360 on the SAT, then they would get a full waiver of non-resident tuition. So basically they could go to the University of Missouri for in-state tuition. If they were a level 2 and got a 27 through 29 on the ACT or 1260 or higher, then they would get $7,000 off a year. So definitely worth taking if you're looking at. If you're close to a few more points, definitely go ahead and take that. But just about every university will have some type of scholarship based off of this criteria. Another question we get a lot or conversations that we have, are parents that are reluctant to apply for private schools because the reputation is that those just cost a lot more. That's true, but don't completely let it deter you from applying to a private school. What we would suggest that you do is apply to your public school that you're interested in and the private school. Once you get the amount of merit scholarship or scholarship money back from that public university, I would absolutely go to that private school and say, you know, we love your university. However, it's going to cost X number of dollars to go here, but it's only going to cost X number of dollars to go to the state or the in-state school, and let them decide how much money that they can give you. Sometimes they have other ways that they can help entice the offer to go to that private school because they need students just like the public schools do. And also I would focus on how much the end cost is going to be as opposed to how much aid they're giving you. If a school is going to give you $20,000 off a year, but the tuition is $50,000, you're still going to have to pay 30, and it's still going to be cheaper to possibly go to a state school. So make sure you focus on the end bill as opposed to the amount of aid that they're giving. And don't be afraid to try to negotiate. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, their tuition is their tuition, and then you can make a decision based on that. Another thing that people sometimes don't realize is a reciprocity agreement. And we've put the website there. There are several states in the Midwest that have tuition agreements. And that means that if you're a resident of Indiana, then you can go to this whole list of schools that are out of state at in-state tuition rates. So you can just plug in where you live, Indiana, and it will give you a list at this website of all the schools that you can go to for in-state tuition.
All right, so now we're into the October-November timeframe for your child's senior year. The FAFSA opens on October the 1st. And that is when you can start doing your financial aid for the next school year in college. Just a little plug really quick, February 17th at 6 p.m., we're going to do an early awareness with Invested. Invested is a wonderful company that we have partnered with, and they will walk you through the whole process of the FAFSA. It is a long and lengthy process, but it is super awesome to have someone that can help you through the process of getting everything for financial aid lined up. Also in October and November, you're going to want to arrange college visits. You're going to hopefully be able to go on campus next year, but if not, we will still post all of the virtual options for you. Again, here's that November 1 deadline. We cannot stress the importance of that deadline. If you miss that deadline, you will not be in that first grouping for the merit-based scholarships. So please make sure that you are giving yourself plenty of time to make sure your transcripts, your letters of recommendations, that everything is sent to your college by that deadline. Another thing to think about, usually not usually, all the time, our fall break backs up right before the November 1st deadline. So it's important that you are talking to your teachers prior to that about getting your letters of rec, and also talking to your counselor about when things need to be sent. This is also a great time to start the scholarship search. you will be able to look into Naviance, and as they come available, we will put all the scholarships in a list for you. And once the deadline has passed, we take them away so that you aren't inundated with the entire list at once. A lot of them don't open until after the November 1 deadline. So it may seem small at first, but keep checking all through the year. Right now, the list is very large. And so like we said, go ahead and you can look in there now to see what the current seniors are applying for. And again, those will probably be up for you next year as well. Like I said, Center Grove is partnered with InvestEd. They have great resources on their website that you can go and you can kind of look around and see what is there for financial aid. In December, this is very important for seniors to focus on their final exams. Some colleges request mid-year transcripts, and what that means is it requests your first semester of your senior year grades. Like I said a couple of slides ago, when you start applying, the grades that you're applying with are your first 6 semesters of your high school career. So the mid-year will let the colleges know that you have continued to do the grades that you have shown in the past and that you are still prepping to become college ready. It is important that as you start getting acceptance letters that you're turning those into the guidance department. We use that so that we can send final transcripts at the end of the school year. And it's also good data for us as well. In Naviance, there is a place that we use called scattergrams. And this is an awesome graph that shows how many students from Center Grove have applied to that specific college. And it links there, it's anonymous, but it links with the ACT, the SAT, and the GPA. So you can kind of see where you fall on that graph to see what your likelihood is to get accepted. So once we get those acceptance letters, you become one of those data points on the graph. And it's just a great tool for our students. So January and April of your senior year, like I said, you're going to be requesting mid-year transcripts through Naviance if the college needs your 7th semester grades. Not every college needs them, so please only request them if it's necessary for the college to make a decision on your acceptance. Again, you can check Naviance Student for updated scholarship list. Like I said, the list continues to grow all throughout the year. You're also going to want to attend College Goal Sunday for assistance in completing the FAFSA. Again, InvestEd will help you completing that, and then we will also make sure to post all of these events for you. The FAFSA is due April the 15th, so you need to make sure that you have that completed by that date. Again, it opens in October, so you have plenty of time to make sure that you get that filed, and that if you have questions, we can make sure that we get those answered for you. Through this time frame, you guys will start getting acceptance letters from schools and denial letters, and those are also handy to have as well. So you will turn both of them in to the guidance department. And then as you start getting your scholarship letters, please turn those in as well, because we like to see what's being offered to our students as far as scholarship goes. And then in May, at the end of your senior year, you're going to take your AP exams for any AP courses that you have had throughout that year. You will sign up for those usually in the fall, but then you will actually take the test in May. College acceptance is provisional, so you have to maintain grades. Unfortunately, in the past, we have had students, that get senioritis. It happens to the best of us, and they have had their acceptance revoked. And that is never a fun conversation to have. So it's very important that you stay on top of your grades and you finish strong. At the end of the year, we will be sending out the senior survey. And then it is super important that every kid fills this out, because if we don't have this filled out, we don't know where the kids are ending up going. And so then we won't be able to send final transcripts. That is very important that this senior survey is filled out so that we can send your final transcript to your school.
We also have other post-secondary opportunities that your students might be interested in. We have great relationships with IBEW, the electrical union, with the pipe fitters union, and pretty much all building trades in central Indiana. So keep an eye out for applications for internships. We also try to have a job fair when COVID permits for students that are interested in going straight to the workforce after school. If a student is interested in anything at all along those lines, please come and see your guidance counselor. In the past, I guess it's been about 5 years now, we've worked really hard to get our students aware of what it takes to be an apprentice, to join an apprenticeship program for many of the building trades that we're starting to see a decline in the number of people that are skilled and crafted to do. So we want to make sure that they understand there's lots of different options out there. We also have an amazing coordinator named Tammy Walker, who helps connect students with all of those different opportunities. So if you ever have any questions, come and see one of us, or there is Mrs. Walker's email address on the screen. So keep in mind, there's lots of information. There's more than one right college. There's more than one great opportunity for your student. And at this point, we're going to have our counselors give us some of those questions that you guys have been typing in this tonight. Or they may have answered them all because they are amazing.
So we had a parent that asked, which is better for scholarship purposes, taking the SAT or the ACT?
So we recommend that you take both of them, and then whichever one your student feels more comfortable with, take that one again for the super score. I also wanted to say that many times colleges, they try and look at the whole student on the transcript. And even if you've taken both the ACT and the SAT multiple times, they will marry the different scores to try and get the best situation for your student. They want to admit you and they want you to come to their school, so they're going to try and find the best scenario possible for your kid.
Is that it? Okay. Well, we hope that means that we've answered all your questions, but I'm sure that there's things that you're going to think of after the meeting closes. So you are always welcome, as we said before, to call or email us with any questions. I promise there's not a question that we've never heard before or that we're going to think is silly. We're here as a resource for you all and to help you work through this process. We know it's stressful and we know there's lots of options, and we want to make sure that you have the best information so that you and your student can make the best possible choice for their future. So thanks so much for joining us tonight. Thanks to our counselors and Mrs. Krickemeyer for joining me, and we hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you.